So, should we move on to our main event here, Al? Oh, God.
Should we ever?
Oh, boy. Al, hey, people, if you watched the show last week, we gave you a little look ahead. And you know what me and my man Al said? We said, you know what? Jiri Prochazka, this is the guy. This is the spot. This is the time. And boy, were we right, Al. Jiri Prochazka, like I said earlier in the show, defeats the human being formerly known as Dominick Reyes. He took his soul, he put it into a small jar, and then he stuck it in his ponytail, okay? Spinning back elbow, the third in UFC history. Okay, I was explaining this fight earlier, okay? Jiri Prochazka versus Dominick Reyes looked like a superhuman who's trained high-level mixed martial arts versus a human being who's trained high-level mixed martial arts, right? Dominick Reyes landed good shots, but Dominick Reyes is a human being, okay? When he hits the superhuman's fairly unaffected, okay? When the superhuman hits the human's devastated. The human's taking crazy damage. That's how this fight played out. I mean, this fight started off pretty close. Dominick Reyes had some success in this matchup, okay? But as time progressed, which, Al, I got to tell you, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't great odds, but I told people, and I never use the L word. I don't even want to say it right now. You know, it starts with an L, ends with an OK, okay? But if there was ever one of those, this fight not going the distance was it, okay? There was just no way this fight could ever last 25 minutes. And that's just the truth, okay? Jiri Prochazka, for better or worse, has a style. Again, I keep hammering on it. You can't prepare for this guy. There's no one in the world remotely close to what Jiri Prochazka is bringing into the octagon, okay? And we saw that tonight. This dude's just on another level, okay? He keeps his hands together to power up his fire chakras. He gets ponytails put in to give him mystical powers of the ancient samurais of Okinawa circa the 14th century. He's a warrior spirit. If he lived in medieval times, he would be riding into your village on horseback to decapitate every man, woman, and child until your genetic pool was extinct, okay? This guy is on another level. He might not be a human. I am all in on Jiri Prochazka. I was tonight. We cashed it up. Okay, I gave out Jiri Prochazka. I said, listen, I get it. It's a risky bet. Dom Reyes is a very tough guy, but I'm going to shoot my shot. The dude gets down to minus 125. We're talking almost even money, okay? Which that's the play I gave out, right? That's the play I gave out. Just Jiri Prochazka straight. It hit me before this fight. I go, Jiri Prochazka's not winning by decision. I really don't see him even taking the opportunity if Reyes gives him a sub. I just feel like this guy would posture up and rain down strikes. That's just his style. He's a highlight reel guy. I said, Jiri Prochazka is going to win by knockout. So went ahead and doubled up. Said, give me that Jiri by KO plus money. Al, banger, seals the night. Big profit. Units acquired. Money in the bank. Can I be stopped? I don't know. Jiri Prochazka was the side. He's the man. This dude will be getting the next title shot after Glover Teixeira versus Jiri Prochazka. Al, take it away before I think of 20 more minutes of stuff about Jiri Prochazka I can say.
Yeah, this was, for me, it came down to me either having a profitable night or a not profitable night. It came down to this fight. And, I kicked myself because I was preparing for the show a little bit more than I should have been because I forgot to, do the double down, privately, not share with everybody else type where I bet, ridiculously, just take my profits from other investments and put it into this investment. And I didn't do it. And I kicked myself. But Jiri Prochazka on the money line. And then I also had fight goes round 3, no, which only cashed by 31 seconds. And to be honest, I was pretty nervous heading into the second half of that second round. And then, Prochazka, it's just a performance. Like he covers distance so quickly. He has such an unorthodox style. he's a little bit sloppy with his counters and he leaves himself open a bit. But you think like, oh, this guy's just too tough for his own good. But you're also just like, is he? Or is this all just like a thing? Because like he talked about the book, The Five Rings. And I took a lot, like I read into this a lot. And the thing
Hit
about
me
the
with
five,
it. Hit me with it all, Al. I got to know now.
It's so much about the way that you, in battle, of the way that you trick your opponent into, it's just about mind games basically. And that's, Prochazka, he has this perfect way of like I was saying to you before we started and we were off camera, like you can't trust yourself when you're hitting him and he's rocked, because he's so in tuned to the way that you're thinking. You know what I mean? This guy is like an old school samurai, like, and it's such a mental game, and he's trying to drive you in. And, at any point in this fight when he looked rocked, I really don't think he was rocked. I think that he just has an iron chin, and it's almost, it's akin to like peak Anderson Silva. Like he'll just eat the shot, and he's so charismatic, and he's so just like, I don't even know what it is. It's just it's on a whole other level. And Jiri reminds me a lot of Adesanya in the way that he's just a little bit too animated in the way that he fights. He also kind of reminds me of like Manel Cape, to a lot lesser extent, and just a little bit like he's clowning too much. And I was literally writing that like he's clowning too much. And as I was writing that, massive spinning elbow. And this was just, is it the knockout of the year? I think it is. Like,
give me another contender.
I guess last week.
Chat, give us a contender. Give us a couple KOs of the year, chat, please, because I can't think of one that beats that right now. I mean, the way he bodied Dominick. Listen, we're lucky Dominick Reyes did not fall down on the back of his neck, falling forward. I mean, that could have been serious. He's lucky the head kind of popped out. Dude, this guy's on another level, Al. This guy is the truth. I mean, yeah. Listen, it's hard to say. And I even said this week. I'm like, yeah, the guy eats shots. Yeah, the guy doesn't respect his opponent's ability to hurt him. Yeah, I would normally go against a guy who doesn't respect the power of a current top-ranked UFC light heavyweight, especially a precision striker like Dominick Reyes. And Dominick Reyes hit him with some really good shots early in that fight, and this dude really did not care. I will say, I think he ate a shot that hurt him. I do think there was one shot that hurt him, and he kind of needed time to get his center of gravity back, get his wits back. But at that point, he had already put a lot of damage on Dominick Reyes, and Dominick Reyes, I think, kind of tried to jump on him, but at the same time was just wary. Even a wounded Jiri is throwing absolute touch of death shots. Yeah, I mean, and sure enough, he gets his wits back about him, and it's just on. You know what I mean? At that point, it's almost like he almost needed to get hurt to go, okay, now let's stop playing with my food and let's go ahead and get out of here. This guy is on another level. I'm telling you, the mentality, this dude, there is a certain intangible we have in play here with Jiri Prochazka that is not a factor with any other fighter. Like, normally when we talk about guys, well, they'll have a certain something about them, and you'll go, this guy kind of has it, yeah, and this guy kind of has it, and this, and this guy, there's a certain something, a certain mysticism we have with this guy that there's not a number two. There's Jiri Prochazka by himself. Listen, I even tweeted out tonight, and I gotta say, not a bad tweet. Ian Kudalaba, I'm a pretty intense guy. Jiri Prochazka, hold my beer. You know what I mean? Like, this dude is so intense, so badass. And I got to tell you, Al, I'm just the biggest fan at this point. I'm all aboard the train. I need to see more. I need more. I need more Jiri right now. And let me tell you something, Al. there's no doubt in my mind, the UFC, they love what they see in this guy.
Yeah.
Pure action, coming forward, unorthodox, exotic striking, big power, knocks dudes out dead, and finishes fights. Dana White's rock hard right now looking at that main event, okay? There's a reason why Dana didn't have anything to say after that fight. He's laid back somewhere going, ha, ha, ha. Okay, Dana, this is what I'm getting at is this is the exact guy that the UFC media train. We're going to see this guy get a push, okay? Now, don't get me wrong. Does Glover Teixeira deserve a title shot? Is Glover Teixeira blowing anybody? Oh, man, Glover Teixeira. You guys know Glover Teixeira, right? Oh, you don't? Okay, cool. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, that he's not that type of guy, right? Jiri Prochazka, this is a guy who, we're talking mainstream access. If this guy can continue to add to these highlight reel knockouts, we're talking about potential major superstar. And I think in this guy's third fight, he's getting a title shot. So tell me the last guy, not Michael Chandler, who just walks into the UFC and does this to somebody and they go, yep, time for a title shot. It's already in effect, man. Jiri Prochazka is the guy. Hey, listen, I got to talk about Dom Reyes, man. We're talking about a dude went from probably beating John Jones 3 rounds to 2, takes the L there, probably undeserved. I got to be honest. I remember watching the fight live, saying to myself, I had no skin in the game. I did not bet the fight. Watching the fight, I said, damn, I wish I would have bet Dom Reyes at plus 300. When they went to announce that decision, I thought we had a new champ. I thought Dom Reyes had done just enough to beat John Jones. They give him the L. He goes in there against Jan Blachowicz, a heavy favorite, a fight he was supposed to win, a fight I thought he was going to win. Gets blown through, just beat up and finished. And here we are yet again, a very similar outcome. The dude gets beat up and finished. Unbelievable, a guy a year ago I'm thinking is getting his hand raised against one of, if not the greatest fighter of all time. And now we're talking about a guy on a 3-fight losing streak who's been finished in devastating fashion 2 times in the last 4 months. I mean, how quickly the tide turns in this game. Dom Reyes, what's next for him? I don't know, but it's a step down. It's a step down. It's top, maybe a guy that's right at 10, a guy that's in the 12, 13 rankings. I still think Dom Reyes is a good fighter. I just think Jiri Prochazka is just on another level, and we saw that tonight. Al, give me something here. I know I'm going off.
No, I mean, how could you not? Like, we could do a full podcast on Jiri Prochazka.
Yeah, oh boy.
This guy's that's for the people who don't know, like this guy, he was the Ryzen light heavyweight champion. And if you don't know what Ryzen is, it's basically like the lineal continuation of Pride.
Right.
Like up until I always put out my betting trends. I couldn't do it with Jiri Prochazka up until 5 fights ago, because 5 fights ago, they were still fighting fights that were longer than 5 minutes. Okay. This was the first round was 10. And then the next 2 rounds were 5 minutes and 5 minutes. Ryzen got away from that, luckily. And but yeah, like this guy, he's on a whole other level. And I just wanted to talk about quickly the thing with the only time that we seen him got knocked out was against King Mo and in Ryzen. And I watched that fight today.
So did I.
He wasn't really knocked out. Like, he was knocked out. Like, he was down. He got dropped. But if that fight's in almost any other promotion, like, what do you think? Like, I thought he was still.
I honestly, I thought it was fair. I thought it was a TKO. But here's another thing you got to add on. He fought earlier that night. That was his second fight of the night. Okay, so you know what they're not going to have him do in the UFC? Fight 2 times in a night. You know what I mean? So put a little asterisk by that. In my book, you know what I mean? And then the only other time the dude's been finished is by submission. But we're talking, first off, let's also another asterisk, because King Mo knocked him out in 2016. I mean, we're talking 6 years ago at this point. Exactly. And then he was submitted like 9 years ago. So this dude, we're talking about a guy who was finished when he was 21 and 23. You know what I mean? Not that the monster that we've seen emerge into the UFC. You know, they talked about it on the broadcast. Jiri Prochazka delayed his UFC tenure, okay? This is a guy who said, let me murder everyone in Japan. Let me dominate the outside the UFC scene. And when I feel ready, when I think the time is right, I will take the step into the UFC. And he did, to high-level competition in Volkan Oezdemir. And he just blew through the guy. And then you know what he did tonight? Blew through a guy that probably beat John Jones. Do I need to say it? You guys know the limit. It's the sky, okay? The sky is the limit. Jiri Prochazka, I'm all aboard, baby. Al, what else is there left to say?
Just really quickly before we move on to what's ahead here. The thing about Prochazka that makes him, he's still really young, and he fought at heavyweight in Ryzen, and he's got maybe one good weight cut down to 185 in him.
Oh boy, I don't think that. I don't see, Al. He's a huge dude. I don't see that one.
You put him in you might be right, but still, I mean, this guy, he's got super fight written all over him. Like, let's wait, let's cool it down a little bit. Let's get him. He's gonna fight for the title, and even if he fights Blachowicz, Blachowicz is a little bit of a bad matchup just because of the Blachowicz's wrestling is on another level, and I think that Prochazka, if he tries to play those games with Blachowicz, it's such a crazy fight, though. But I do think he can beat Glover Teixeira. I think that's a really good matchup for him. But I think the sky's the limit. Like, this guy has a huge career in front of him if he wants to keep fighting in the UFC. I think. And then also, he's an international superstar. He speaks Czech. He speaks English. He speaks Japanese.
Wow.
He is the perfect guy, right? I think this is all part of that, the UFC kind of rebranding themselves into a universal MMA organization. And they're going to be, we might see, this is the type of guy who can bring that type of thing where he can fight in two weight classes. And, I would love to see Prochazka fight at heavyweight. Again, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but it's warranted. And do yourself a favor. And we didn't talk about this enough leading up to this fight. I mentioned it just a little bit before we finished last week, but do yourself a favor and watch Jiri Prochazka's fights in Ryzen on YouTube. Just sit back and enjoy.
Oh, they're just as good.
He's a killer, man.
Yeah, they're just as good as what you saw tonight. So if you're feeling like you need more action, he's got about 10 fights where, he gathers a few more souls on his way. If you want to see the lead up to tonight, it's phenomenal.
The UFC does a disservice to themselves by not acknowledging Ryzen, right? Because it just, I don't know why they do it, but I guess I don't even know why they do it, but for some reason they just, Paul Felder even said, you look like you've been doing this for years. And I just I shook my head.
Hold on, did he really say that?
Yes. He said, it looks like you've been mastering this sport for years. And Prochazka was everything in my career before I was in the UFC led up to me being here. And at this point, he's had crazier wars. I think he's been challenged more, albeit he was much younger and not as skilled. But I think he's been challenged much more in Ryzen than he has in the UFC so far.
Oh, and he definitely had tougher fights in Risen, up to this point for sure.
Yeah, and we'll track this as we go, as we do our show here. Let's track this. So 2 fights. 2 inside the distances, a $100 bettor who's bet on Prochazka inside the distance is now up $450. So let's see. Now you got $450 to play with if you're betting Prochazka the next time. And I got to tell you, Prochazka and Blachowicz, and as soon as you can do that fight, I don't know, where you do that fight in Prague, you do that fight in
Kiev
and Warsaw. That's a
Whoa, dang. Oh,
that's,
man, I just about went. Okay, you know what? Yeah, good call. I almost went crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm totally with you, man. You're right. I mean, I'm seeing an international superstar here. The guy's just pure excitement. I can't think of a guy who's more fun to watch right now than what we're seeing with this guy. Dude, I can't wait. Glover Teixeira, Jan Blachowicz can't come soon enough because I got to know who Jiri's fighting next.